She was not just a queen, she was a symbol of courage, of honor, and of a mother's fierce love for her land. Rani Laxmi Bai, the Queen of Jhansi, is a name that echoes through the heart of India. Her story is not just a tale from the history books, it is the very spirit of our nation's fight for freedom. She was a woman who stood tall when powerful men trembled. She challenged an empire that believed the sun never set on its power. Her name was Manikarnika, and she was destined to become the thunderous roar of a people who would not be silenced. Her life teaches us that true strength comes not from a crown, but from the will to protect what is right. Born in the holy city of Varanasi, Manikarnika was not raised like other girls of her time. Her father, Morapant Tambe, worked in the court of a Peshwa, and he raised his daughter with the spirit of a warrior. She did not play with dolls, she played with swords. She did not learn to be quiet. She learned to ride horses with incredible skill. She was educated in archery, fencing, and all the arts of warfare. This upbringing shaped her into a person of immense confidence and strength. She was bold, intelligent, and had a fire in her eyes that showed she was meant for greatness. Her childhood was a preparation for the incredible destiny that awaited her. Her life took a significant turn when she was married to the Maharaja of Jhansi, Raja Gangadhar Rao. It was then that she received her new name, Laxmi Bai, in honor of the goddess of fortune. As the queen, she quickly won the hearts of her people. She was not a distant ruler, hidden away in the palace. She was their queen, their mother, their protector. She cared deeply for her subjects and was involved in the administration of the kingdom. The people of Jhansi loved her, not just because she was their queen, but because she was one of them. A guardian who truly understood her duty to her kingdom and her people. The happiness, however, was tragically short-lived. The royal couple was blessed with a son, but he passed away when he was only a few months old. Heartbroken, the king and queen adopted a son, Damodar Rao, to be the heir to the throne of Jhansi. Shortly after the adoption, the Maharaja's health failed, and he passed away, leaving the young queen to rule as the regent for her adopted son. Laxmi Bai, now a widow and a young mother, found herself facing not only personal grief, but also the looming shadow of the British Empire, which had its greedy eyes fixed firmly upon her beloved kingdom of Jhansi. She was alone, but she was not weak. The British East India Company was expanding its power across India with ruthless efficiency. They used clever policies and military force to take control of one kingdom after another. For Jhansi, the weapon of choice was a cruel policy called the Doctrine of Lapse. This rule, created by the British Governor-General Lord Dalhousie, stated that if an Indian ruler died without a natural male heir, their kingdom would be annexed or taken over by the British. It was an unjust law designed specifically to steal land and power from Indian rulers. It completely ignored the ancient Indian tradition of adopting an heir, a practice that was sacred and legally recognized for centuries. When Maharaja Gangadhar Rao passed away, the British saw their chance. They refused to recognize Damodar Rao as the rightful heir simply because he was adopted. They declared that Jhansi had no ruler, and under the Doctrine of Lapse, it now belonged to them. Rani Laxmi Bai was ordered to leave the fort of Jhansi and was offered a small pension to live as a commoner. This was a grave insult not only to her but to the honor of Jhansi itself. The British believed she was just a young widow who would quietly accept her fate. They could not have been more wrong. They had underestimated the fire burning within her. Rani Laxmi Bai refused to surrender her kingdom. Her famous words echoed with defiance. Main apni Jhansi nahi dungi, which means I will not give up my Jhansi. This was not just a political statement. It was a promise made from a mother's heart to her people and her land. She sent appeals to the British authorities in London, arguing her case with logic and passion. She cited treaties and traditions, proving that her claim was just and their actions were illegal. She tried every peaceful method to protect her son's birthright and her kingdom's sovereignty. She showed immense dignity and intelligence in her negotiations. But the British Empire was not interested in justice or treaties. They were interested only in power and control. They ignored her pleas and dismissed her arguments. They saw Jhansi as just another piece of territory to add to their growing empire. The British officials were arrogant, believing their might was absolute, and that a woman, a queen without a king, could pose no real threat to them. This arrogance was their greatest mistake. By pushing her into a corner, they did not break her spirit. They awakened the warrior who had been trained for this very battle since she was a child. The stage was set for a confrontation. In 1857, a massive fire of rebellion swept across northern India. It began with Indian soldiers, the sepoys, rising up against their British officers. This was the first major war for India's independence. The rebellion spread like wildfire, and soon, rulers and common people joined the fight to drive the British out of their land. For Rani Laxmi Bai, this was the moment of truth. She saw the rebellion as a chance to fight for Jhansi's freedom and to join a larger cause for the dignity of her country. She began preparing her kingdom for war, knowing that the British would soon come for her. She was no longer just a queen, she became a commander. Rani Laxmi Bai proved to be a brilliant leader and military strategist. She transformed Jhansi into a fortress of resistance. She organized her army, trained her soldiers, and even created a women's unit to defend the kingdom. Men and women, soldiers and common folk, all stood united behind their queen, inspired by her unwavering courage. She would personally inspect the city's defenses, riding her horse through the streets, with her sword by her side. She worked day and night, overseeing the casting of cannons and the strengthening of the fort's walls. Her energy was infectious, and her determination gave hope to everyone in Jhansi. In March 1858, the British forces, led by Sir Hugh Rose, laid siege to the fort of Jhansi. They had a massive, well-equipped army and expected an easy victory, but they were met with fierce resistance. For 2 weeks, the defenders of Jhansi fought with incredible bravery. The Rani herself was everywhere, leading her troops from the front lines, firing cannons and encouraging her soldiers. She was a vision of power and defiance, a warrior queen fighting for every inch of her motherland. The British were shocked by the intensity of the fight and the skill of the defense organized by a woman they had so casually dismissed. Even when the British finally breached the walls of the fort after a brutal assault, the Rani did not surrender. The fighting continued in the streets of the city. Realizing that the battle for the fort was lost, she made a daring escape to save herself and the cause. In the dark of night, with her young son Damodar Rao securely tied to her back, she mounted her faithful horse, Badal, and leaped over the high walls of the fort. It was an act of legendary courage. She escaped the clutches of the British and rode to join other rebel leaders, determined to continue the fight for freedom until her last breath. After her incredible escape from Jhansi, Rani Laxmi Bai did not seek safety or rest. Her spirit was unbroken, and her resolve was stronger than ever. She joined forces with another great rebel leader, Tantia Tope, and together they continued their campaign against the British. They mounted a surprise attack and captured the strategic fort of Gwalior. This was a major victory for the rebels, and a huge embarrassment for the British. From Gwalior, the Rani hoped to reorganize the rebellion and launch a new offensive. She once again showed her remarkable leadership, rallying the troops and planning the next stage of the war for independence. Her final battle took place in Gwalior. The British, determined to crush the rebellion, launched a powerful counterattack. The Rani, dressed as a cavalry leader, led her soldiers into the heart of the fight. She fought with the ferocity of a lioness protecting her cub, inspiring all who saw her. Even the British general, Sir Hugh Rose, later described her as the bravest and best of all the rebel leaders. In the heat of the battle on 18th June 1858, she was grievously wounded. She fought until the very end, a true warrior who preferred death on the battlefield to a life of submission. She achieved martyrdom, becoming an immortal symbol of resistance. Though she fell in battle, her story did not end there. Her legacy is eternal. Rani Laxmi Bai became a national heroine, a source of inspiration for generations of Indian freedom fighters who followed her. Her name became a war cry, a reminder of the courage it takes to stand up against injustice, no matter how powerful the opponent. Her life proved that gender is no barrier to leadership, bravery, or sacrifice. She was a queen, a mother, a commander, and a martyr, all in one. She fought for her son's right, her people's dignity, and her country's freedom. Today, Rani Laxmi Bai lives on in the hearts of millions. We tell her story to our children, we sing songs of her bravery, and we remember her as the fearless queen who challenged an empire. She teaches us that one person's courage can inspire a nation. She reminds us that we must never surrender our principles or our self-respect. Her life was a fire that lit the path to freedom, and her sacrifice continues to fuel the spirit of patriotism in India. She is not just the Queen of Jhansi, she is a queen of courage for all time, a true embodiment of female power and the unyielding spirit of India.